Hey tubers, welcome back for another adventure. And what we're going to do today is we're going to get this Cub Cadet snowblower and this Generac 4000 XL running. These two items, should a nor'easter blow into my area, are extremely important. First of all, one needs to be able to clear the snow, and more than that, one needs to be able to power the house so that things do not freeze up. These have both sat more or less unused for, well, since last winter. So it really is time to get them running. I'm going to set up the camera and go through each of them, and we might be as easy as setting the choke and pulling the string and they both fire right up, or we might be as unfortunate as we got to tear them completely apart, as in the carburetor, clean it, and all that other trivia to get them running. So keep your fingers crossed. I'm hoping for the best. This one here looks like you can turn the gas off, which normally if you turn the gas off and run them out, that's a good thing. Unfortunately for this guy, one cannot turn the fuel off. So a lot of times this one gets into trouble. Though occasionally, when I'm doing the driveway, I run it completely out, and I did not. There's still fuel in there, not a good sign. I have tried in my area. They sell an unleaded premium. Well, actually, they sell it in Ulster County. So I can drive up to Ulster County and buy some unleaded premium. The only bad thing is they don't seem to sell enough of it, and though perhaps the gas does not have alcohol in it, so it doesn't absorb the water as much, I seem to run into the trouble the gas loses the bang. It kind of turns into dead. Right? Should you spill it and throw a match into it, it'll light like kerosene maybe, but it doesn't like go whoosh or anything. You know, it kind of doesn't have the bang that these things really need to start, especially in the cold weather. Anyway, let's get started and see what we have. Okay, one of the first things I do, I start out with a little chemistry. Seafoam, I set it up with probably about 3/8 of an ounce of seafoam, and then another 3/8 of an ounce of this marine type fuel additive. I take that and I put it in this can, 16 ounces, 1 pint. And then I fill the rest of it with gasoline, hopefully fresh gasoline, right? Now I do this for a reason. First of all, well, I do it so that I know there's stabilized gas in there to get me through the winter. And I do it to, if there is any moisture in the gas, to kind of absorb it, and basically to kind of clean things up. Is it going to be enough? I'm not quite sure, but that's what we're going to start out with for the snowblower. One always wants to check the oil, and I already wiped the stick, and so this thing is full to right where it needs to be. I know this thing has very few hours on it since the last oil change. We typically get like 4 snowstorms a year, and each snowstorm it typically runs for 3 hours. So, you know, 3 times 4 is 12, you know, 3 times 5, you know, it just doesn't have many hours on this oil. It's always a good thing to change it, but in my case it looks pretty good, and quite honestly I'm going to be lazy and I'm not going to. Next step is seeing if it'll start. So this is one of those with a primer button, so let's give that a couple of pushes. Give it some throttle, set the choke. And some people never use starting fluid. I use starting fluid because I had somebody tell me once that if you use starting fluid, the engine's going to blow up. And ever since then, I've been using starting fluid. Well, without a starting fluid, it looks like. I've been using starting fluid because I've been waiting for the engine to blow up. And I haven't blown up an engine yet, so I'm still trying. Now it's running, and it's obviously running on the choke. I'm going to let it run for a while, because I really want that new gas to get to the carburetor. A very, very, very big difference to how far it throws snow, clogging up, and everything else. You can make your own, or you can buy a kit over eBay for your snowblower. In my case, I made my own. I got a fat belt out of Tractor Supply, cut it up, made my own little metal backer. So I'm just going to let it run for a few minutes off camera just to make sure that the gas is flowing and everything else. Just finishing off the snowblower discussion. The tires are full of air, right? Check those out. Once again, I just have to grease it, and this thing is ready to toss snow immediately. I'll need to fill the tank with fuel. I only put in that little bit, that pint, but it's ready to go. So next up, we'll be able to get the snow out of the driveway. But next up is the generator. I'm hoping this is as easy to start. And I'm thinking it should be. You're able to turn the gas off and run it out, so I'm hoping I'm able to start it. I'm also, you guys saw the little chemistry experiment I did. I'm also going to do that with this. I typically put stabilized fuel in here, but it never hurts to put a little more. So we're going to do that, and we're going to fire it up. One other thing, these Generacs, if you happen to have one, they have an oil pressure switch here. And what this thing loved to do is it would start, run for 10 seconds, and die. And it would do that over and over and over again. Turns out that oil pressure switch was defective. Well, I don't know about you. If I'm sitting in darkness, the heck with the oil pressure. I'm going to fill it up with oil and I'm going to hope for the best, right? I'm going to check the oil before I start it now. I check it several times during the season, typically before I use it. So I'm not going to count on the oil pressure switch shutting it down should I be too dumb to put oil in it, right? I'm just going to handle that. And you can see it's got the low oil indicator. Anyway, I guess these things were meant to run like for days and days and days. And if you're going to do that with this, you want to make sure that you get some kind of indication or shutdown when it's low on oil. Typically for me, our typical blackout is somewhere the shortest blackout for snow, typically around 12 hours, and it could be as long as a few days. Normally, I only run this particular generator when I'm trying to charge up the well. This thing puts out 220, and it puts out a really nice strong 220, so the well doesn't mind clicking on and off to this generator. So this is kind of the heavy generator that if I'm trying to power the entire house for some reason, I use this guy. I also use this one for the furnace. Typically for the pellet stove, satellite TV, and the other stuff, I have a smaller Ryobi inverter that I also need to put a little time in on. That one I like because I can run the pellet stove, I can run the satellite TV, so the house is warm, everything's working like it should be, and I'm only burning a gallon or two of gas a day. This thing burns like half a gallon an hour. So if I run this thing for 8 hours, I got to come up with 4 gallons of gas, right? This thing's really, really mean on gas. Puts out a lot of power. Once again, I can run my furnace and my well. I could probably run my stove and oven on this thing, but it really pulls, drinks the juice doing it. So typically this guy just does the well and all, though I can run the pellet stove and the satellite and everything else on it, but I typically I prefer to use the inverter. Anyway, let's see what we can do with this. So the oil check is done. I did the chemistry already with the marine stabilizer and the seafoam. Choke is on. Run. Turn the gas on. And while it's filling the bowl, I'll put this up in the camera stand. And let's hope for the best, right? We're hoping this thing starts right up. So center the shot a little bit. And I am gonna give it a little starting fluid, because I already told you why I do that. Let's hope that's enough. Let's see what it does. So, old Harvey's lucky, it started right up. Let me grab a saw and make sure it's generating power. So, it looks like my quest for the day of getting the generator fired up and the snowblower fired up and ready to deal with the snow has been accomplished. So should a nor'easter come by, I could easily clear things up, assuming the driveway wasn't full of junk. Anyway, I want to thank you all for dropping by to watch and comment and subscribe. Please remember to keep your feet down, your heads up, and get out and enjoy each and every day. You really don't know how many you're going to get, so go out and have some fun. Bye now.